So in macroeconomics, because weights and price are two important variables that work in tandem, because as I said earlier, if price increase, weights increase. If weights increase, price increase. So that is an example of moving in tandem, okay, with weights and price. Because the two are so important, then each of them is given separate kind of specification. So the first one on the left, that's the specifications of the wages, which I discussed just now, okay? And that is called the weight setting equation. So this is the weight setting equation. But since price is also important, then there is also a separate specification of the price. And this equation is called the price setting equation. So you notice here, price is also a function of wages, right? That's what I meant by weights and price are moving in tandem, okay? But you notice there is a one little guy here, mu, okay? So it's 1 plus mu times W. What does it mean? That means price is equal to wages plus something which is a proportion of that wages. And that proportion is represented by mu. So what is that mu? Mu here is what is called the markup. So the story is like this. Suppose you have a firm, you have a company, okay? You know the wages is a certain level, let's say 100, whatever you need, okay? So you know at the minimum you have to assign the price of your product at the minimum is equal to wages, at the minimum, okay? Because here we are assuming that the only cost that you have to pay is only for labor, okay? So at the minimum the price equals to wages. But in reality you want to get some profit, right? You want to get some margin. And that is the reasons why there is a component which is called mu, and definitely mu is greater than 0. Okay? And that mu, when it is multiplied by W, will add to the level of wages. And that will be your price. So let me repeat. Price here is equals to the wages plus something. And that something is basically represented by the multiplications of the markup, which is W, times the wages. Okay? So here we have weight setting equation, and then here is the price setting equation. Okay? So if you combine the two, okay, or let's say you take this, you move the W to the left, and then you take the ratio to the P, this is what you get basically. Okay? So the real wages, because now the wages is divided by the price, that means this is the real wages. So the real wages is nothing but 1 over 1 plus mu. What does that mean? That means the higher the margin, the higher the markup that you are assigning, okay? That means your denominator is also higher. And if the denominator is higher, the real wages is lower. So let me repeat. If the markup that the firm assigned is higher than before, let's say, then the real wages tends to be lower than before. Okay? So in the graph, this is represented by this negative relation, because as I said earlier, if mu increase, basically W over P decrease, right? Now, if you combine this with the weight setting equation here, remember the relation between U and W is negative, and the relation between Z and W is positive, then you can draw this curve basically. So we start with the weight setting, which is this guy. Remember, the relation between U and W is negative, and that's why we have a negative slope curve here, because the x-axis is unemployment, which is U. Okay? And for the price setting, because there is no U here, so it's a straight line, which is basically equals to 1 over 1 plus mu here. So this is the level of the real wages. Okay, so this is the very early introductions of the labor market. To summarize, in macroeconomics, when you talk about labor market, essentially you're talking about what happened with the relation between price and wages. That's the labor market here. Okay. Now, the implications of talking about price and wages is unemployment. Because if you are trying to produce something, you need labor as an input. Okay. So what happened with that market where the labor is involved, which is called the labor market, what happened with that market will determine the level of the price. Okay. So that's basically the big picture in the labor market here.